Good evening. You're listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. Tonight's episode is, of course, Extreme TV, where we talk about a TV show. Tonight's episode is going to be Tulsa King, starring Sylvester Stallone on Paramount Plus. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you live from the Pine Hills Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida, here in Central Florida. I've got RDV from the Great Midwest, my co-guest when we talk action movies here, typically on Tuesday night. So, RDV, we were talking about what movies to see. We like to do a lot of martial arts and 80s based type of action to branch out from there. And of course, coming off the Halloween horror season, now we're kind of venturing more of the classics and old time. We said, you know what? We love Stallone. We've recovered a lot of his films. Oh, yeah, he's doing the show by the Yellowstone guy who's like got everything now. So if there are cowboys, that are really popular, like zombies are in The Walking Dead, it would be this guy, Tyler Sheridan. So he created this thing called Tulsa King, where Stallone is like a mob boss out of water, coming out of prison.
He's a cop. He's a former capo that just got let go.
And I didn't know what to expect. So let me just say this. Yeah, I had seen most of the first season of Yellowstone. Couldn't decide if I liked it, even though I thought it was okay, because I think if you're not really grounded in any certain characters necessarily. You get to see equal representation of, say, Indians, the households, and all that. And so Yellowstone, I think, is good at doing that, but it makes me go, I don't care. And then when I see Stallone, I go, I got to see because it's Stallone, right? And so at first, I really thought this was going to be kind of serious because he's giving me that, my name is Jack Carter, and you don't want to know me vibe, which that's a guilty pleasure of mine.
Agree. I first when he came to this, I'm going in blind. Seeing Stallone, and I'm thinking, please don't be Get Carter. Please don't be Get Carter.
I love Get Carter.
I know, but I'm just not into that. I've seen it, didn't care for it, but I don't want to see it again, even if I did like it. I just don't. Yeah.
This is so entertaining in a Moonraker and Get Carter sort of way.
This is kind of reminds me of Justified a little bit in that sense. There's a little bit of humor, but there's a lot, but it's still serious. It's a crime show. It's got this mysterious suspense. After watching shows like on FX, like the Old Man, which was another show that's kind of blew me out, out of my shoes or knocked my socks up, whatever. This was another show that just basically surprised me for the very first episode. I gotta say, I really enjoyed the first episode. I like how they set it up. I like the fact that you have a little humor in this. It's not over the top, but just enough. You get a little. It's like Stallone is a guy. He's been in lockup for his character for 25 years for a murder he didn't commit because he held his bond. He gets screwed over. He comes out. Basically, they said we're sending to Tulsa. He's like, I lost my wife. I lost my kid. My daughter. My daughter hates me. And it's like and now you're gonna kick me to bumfuck nowhere. He's like, what the hell? One of the guys gets smart with them. The new couple. And he punches him, knocks him out. It's like, oh my gosh, we're getting basically like Stallone just knocking people out, and that's what it is. He knocked about 3 people out this episode alone. Now, that being said, I wouldn't mind if he does that, at least once. But I could see where people get sick of that. He's like, oh, he's just gonna knock you out. But point being, this guy is 75 years old. They even acknowledge that in the show. He doesn't know what the internet is, and that's what the draw to me is. This is a guy. He's been in lockup so much, he doesn't know the outside world, but he knows his street rules. And I love how it's like he goes to like Tulsa, Oklahoma. As the one cabbie guy says, this is the Bible Belt, man. It's like there's a church every 5 minutes, or every block. It's just kind of cool. It's kind of like a Better Call Saul mixed with a little bit you said a little bit of Get Carter, a little bit of Old Man and Justified, or Shield,
Well, it's definitely a fish out of water vibe to it, and going into it, I didn't know what to expect. The first thought I had for the first couple of scenes, especially with Stone voiceovers, I knew he'd be a main character, but I didn't know how main, if there'd be some other main heavies. But since it seems to revolve around him, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be some good shit. And then the fish out of water stuff, I get it, but I'm going to disagree with you and say I think this is nothing but comedy because some of it's very obvious and some of it's not. But the real tense scene where he's talking with the family there when they drive into Long Island, and they tell him what his new thing's going to be and all that. I really was feeling like, man, Stone's really bringing the energy in here. He's
Yeah,
vibing on it. He's feeling it. He's not underselling it all. So I thought that was cool. And I thought, Tulsa, hey, whatever you think of Tulsa, the bottom line is that they show it to you, which I thought was good. You've got to kind of know what you're trying to show. And so as soon as he's in there driving around, you're like, he doesn't know what the Uber is. He doesn't know what the app is. He's dealing with cash. He's making all these decisions based off rules he knows. And I'm going, he has absolutely zero idea, I think, even though he claims to have read a lot and while he was in the joint, about what the financial world is like today. So it's kind of cool because we don't know what's going to happen. And so we don't feel it happening. It just sort of seems to happen organically. When he gets to the dispensary, the medical marijuana, and he just strong arms him and all that, I was like going, what the fuck is going on here? Not only does he bully them and this and that, and he sets things up, we see that he's very sharp. But at the same time, I'm going, bro, you can't deal in cash. If you do, you can get taken away. He's telling people certain things. I understand he wants to cook the books and he wants to launder it. But the way you do all those things today is different than the way you would do it back then
and
because of
that's
all
what
these laws.
that's what's
And
cool
I'm
about
going,
this.
this is so blatantly obvious to anybody that does anything kind of business. I'm going, I guess this is supposed to be funny that he really just doesn't know, or everything else that's going on with it, and is it going to be a big laugh right later? Because we find out that in this episode, holy shit, he's really good at what he does. He knows exactly what he wants to do. We can see things getting set up at the bar. We even get the quote unquote love interest that's going to be a conflicting one here. Of course, the lady that turns
Uh,
out that she works for the FBI. I was like, okay, that's fine. I saw it coming a
well,
mile
like I
away.
said, I kept thinking, old man. This is remember he got the girl and she got involved. I'm thinking, oh, we're gonna see this. Is she gonna be involved with this too? While also being a cop, is she gonna
Yeah.
like what's the conflict? There's obviously some sort of conflict, but
Yep.
she's basically he's an I was gonna say
He's a bad guy.
he's a bad guy, but he's also a good guy in a sense. He's the good guy, bad guy. He's an honorable bad guy. Uh,
We'll see.
like I said, so far he's a gentleman, but he's also doesn't like people who are just basically stupid. He's like I said, like the guy running the kid running or I guess not the guy running the weed business, but the guy working for him,
Hmm.
not barely there, idiot kid. He said, "Go get the manager." And so his buddy's like, "What? I can't leave." I love the intimidation factor, but also the fact that he's like, "Cut the bullshit," you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot, and he doesn't want to. And he basically like he goes outside. He's like, "Do you have a tire?" And he's like, "Yeah, in the back." He's like, "Hold on." He's like, grabs the Gabby's steel water ball, walks in. Here's the big guy. He's like, "Sir, we're gonna ask you to leave." Over overweight security guard. He just basically chucked it in his face, knocks him out.
Yeah, that's just so gimmicky.
Like I said, I thought it was funny
It's a
because
great scene. It's
yeah,
entertaining. Well, at that point, I said, okay, if I take this as an action comedy, it's gold. Because I
yeah,
can't take it serious like hardcore because, while it may have started off that way, it definitely did not continue. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because I'm sitting here, I'm going, okay, what's going on? So he has this African American driver. And I thought it was funny because I thought, oh man, they're going to do something racially. This could be really tense. And this is before the dispensary scene. They're
yeah,
driving, and the guy's got his rap music playing, and it's like that mumble rap, whatever. And he's like,
yeah.
"Turn that shit off," or whatever, like that. Then they start talking, and you're like, "Oh, okay." And like I said, I
I,
thought Stone really brought the energy here, but we go,
yeah,
"Oh, okay,
yeah,
he's going to use this guy for a while."
yeah. They could have went a totally, like I said, totally different way and made this obviously, the crappy woke writing like they do basically. It made it all about race and stuff, but they actually did it though. It's like, they went there a little bit, but just enough to, as let's say, I'd say like 90s old school. Like they didn't really touch on it, but he says like the guy's calling him a gangster. He's like, what the fuck you calling me a gangster for? He's like, and Stallone's like, what the hell's come? He's like, that obvious. I'm like, the guy's like, yeah, So they have a little conversation, like and like I said, these two are quickly becoming friends a little bit, associates. He even sends him here's cash. I want you to go buy me a Lincoln Navigator, thing. He's like, whatever. He's like, guy goes, the next day he shows up and he's like driving this beat up, like old Honda or Corolla, whatever it was, and he's like, what the hell? He's like, well, the guy wouldn't tell me he's like, why? Because, because I'm pretty much, he thought, because I'm talking with cash. He said he wouldn't sell it because I said, I look like a crack dealer, he accused me of being a crack dealer and he said, threatened to call the cops. So Stallone, I love how Stallone didn't go back and he says like, see this? Like, and this is the thing, true. It doesn't matter if you're race whatsoever. You can be dressed like, horribly, and like people think you're like, oh, you don't have money. I've seen this before too. And so they go in there, and the guy's, he's like, oh, you're seeing this, and it's just like a gaudy, like I love it. It's like so small town. It almost looks like a 1950s, like Tulsa, Oklahoma hasn't escaped the 60s or 70s.
I didn't get that vibe at all.
With the guy, the way the guy's dressed, the way his hairdo is and stuff.
He's dressed a little bit like a cowboy. That's all.
Like I said, regardless, so Stallone's like, why didn't you sell my associate there? He's like, oh, misunderstanding. He's like, sure it was, and he punched, and he starts beating him up. It's on the phone. So yeah, it's like, yeah, the only misunderstanding is that you're pretty much a prick because I'm dressed nice, a suit. And you see this guy because he's black and he's got money. You assume it's like, don't assume shit,
Well, and I'm waiting for somebody to step up with a spine because when this scene was going on, it was pretty obvious what was happening. And I thought,
well, we're going to get that next episode.
As a business owner, you've got the right to refuse business. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong, but I mean, the guy was such a blatantly cartoonish character to your point about the way he was dressed and all that. I'm like, this is more evidence of kind of yucks. And he's like, you're going to sell this to my associate here, for 50,000 loaded, whatever. And I'm like, okay, I get it. And I keep thinking, he's leaving a trail of bodies behind him, which is kind of funny. But at some point, I'm wondering if what we're doing is meant for yucks, or is it going to turn into something later on in a few episodes where, the guy who's working the dealership, we see him and he's calling, talking to somebody or whatever, and then somehow he realizes, hey, shit, you can't do this thing and bully your way through, like you might have been able to do. Things are different here in Tulsa, and we're going to have the Tulsa gang come after you. You know what I mean?
Like, two things. This makes sense for him to be. A lot of people are just pushovers because that's the way we are. We raise boys. We can't all become men, but become just beta males that are easily pushed over.
You do see that in here a lot. I agree.
Yeah. So that's the one thing. But we also notice that the ATF also, basically is onto him. But not only that, there's another local mob dealer, mob outfits out there that sees him out there, recognizes him. So there's going to be some struggle, some conflict. But I also think you're going to get somebody. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you get somebody who stands up and is like, "You can't do this." Like, "Oh, he can't," and he just knocks him out too. Like you're gonna get that shit. Overall, it's just kind of almost like I want to say it's almost similar to like the Guy Ritchie movies. Like the best laid plans, is gonna go to shit. He's gonna get in so deep. He already has slept with the woman who was having a karaoke party and stuff. At the bar, and he takes her over to like the strip club and stuff. She ends up hooking up with him, and then the next day or that night, she's like, "Oh wait, you're 75 years old." We found out later at the end that she's actually working. She's a cop, and she recognizes his photo up there because the cops know that he's in town.
Yeah,
and so it's a shit fest. He's like I said, he's trying to start a whole business, but he's going to have all these problems. Who are going to be his allies? Who can he trust? He just, like I said, I don't know. Obviously, we see him also looking at a photo of, or not a photo, but he's got this letter his daughter wrote to him. He's like, "Hey, Daddy, I gave this money $5. He's crinkled on it." It was the same thing he had when he was in prison. It's like, so he obviously wanted to go when he first got out. He wanted to go. First, he wanted to go to Scores. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to Scores party." He's like, "No." So everything's changed. The little boy who basically was like, his partners and bosses, like, son is now running things, which he's kind of pissed off about that. He also wants to go try to reconnect with his daughter, I imagine. I don't know how that's going to work out. The guy, like I said, you could tell in the very beginning, he says, like, I've been in this joint, for 25 years, being a gangster. Would I recommend it? Fuck no.
Well, it's interesting because
Yeah.
at the end of the episode, I'm left wondering, okay, we know he's competent. We know he's going to be in charge. We can see where they're setting up some of the paths that they could take.
Hmm.
And where the old man, I think, excelled with, I thought originally, and we had discussed this in our review of the old man, is that, there with Jeff Bridges, I thought it would have been a very interesting situation to see an older gentleman who might be suffering some mental difficulties for whatever reasons learn how to deal with a skill set he used to have but can't have has difficulty implementing. And so when we saw the trained dogs at the beginning, that was badass,
Hmm.
and how he just knows things. And I thought, okay, that would be great. And instead, it kind of devolved into oh, let me find some chick nobody cares about, watching the show, and she ends up being better than I am, sort of stuff. And I did not like the direction at
Oh,
all that the
I didn't
old
get
man
that at
took it
all.
to. I know you
Fully.
didn't, and that was one of the big different viewpoints we had on that show. Here, I'm looking at it going, well, we've already established Stallone's a badass. We've established that he has money and takes care of the people that takes care of him. He's a businessman at heart, right? But I'm
Yeah.
going, what direction are they going to go in? Because obviously the daughter's going to be involved, but are we supposed to get all
Do
emotional
we
about it or
know?
not? Are
Do we
people going
know
to
if she
turn
will be
on
or
him?
not? Might be until later on. Might be until they get a second season.
True.
What we know for sure, we know is that the woman he slept with, the cop, is going to be involved with him. She feels hella guilty, especially when she recognizes her booty call was this former capo mobster and just got released from prison. And and he is so far. The only thing he's basically done is just extortion. They can arrest him for that, and a couple of things of assault. But other than that, like I said, I'm curious: is he going to be shot at the end? We're gonna get a Walter White, or is it just going to continue on? Is he gonna say "fuck the business" and leave? Like, I mean, I said I love his portrayal of the character because the guy coming out for 25 years would not know about this, would not know about smartphones and all that stuff. He's
Yeah.
in prison, especially if he's in a federal prison. We don't know. I mean, we don't. I said Uber and stuff and all. This guy, like I said, 25 years. I was laughing. I was like, 25 years. That's how long he's been married to his wife, who apparently the rumors are they reconciled. Good for them. Um, But overall, like I said, this is the show I did not expect from Stallone, especially after watching Samaritan. The Samaritan was a letdown, that movie. I did not know because I know I just Stallone isn't writing any of this, so that's another thing. Usually when Stallone writes stuff, he writes up some pretty good stuff. Even though I don't really care for Creed, but I think Creed was also written by other people too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Overall, I'd say I give it a 4 out of 5 for that very first strong opening. It leaves it different branches. We'll see where it goes next week. But
I'll say this: I think it's a little weaker than that. I think it's a 3 out of 5. However, one of the things we do talk about is like with the old man, we just really like it. Like there's some scenes in there that are just phenomenal shot. And you're like, damn, this is good shit. And then here, I'm looking at this going, okay, if I think of this as just kind of like a Stallone action kind of comedy goof sort of thing that gets serious at the right times, that's good because it's hard to balance the comedy with seriousness. But because we love Stallone, I think, we see his energy in it. I'm going, you know what? The dude's 75. He's filming this. I think there's only like 6 or 8 episodes. It's a weekly drop, which is interesting. I know that after I watched it and you suggested maybe taking a look at it, I was like, hell yeah, because it's just fun. We're not watching it. It's not preachy. It's not messagey. It's basically like Yellowstone without the, oh my God, we're going to be so serious kind of looking at everybody. We're going to frown
it's
all the
like
time. Stallone's
Yellowstone.
having fun.
It's
And,
like
and I'm enjoying watching him have fun.
it's like Yellowstone mixed with Demolition Man.
Well, I mean, that's a way to describe it.
Well, no, and Demolition was the same character. He basically went from the past and now has to learn all this new shit and prefers the past. So and like I said, like again a little bit of that. It's like Wesley Snipes appear in the show, please. Be awesome. Like I said, I like the gritty shows like this. Justified. The main character was smarter than everybody else too, for the most part, except for a few of them. They became his main villains. But basically, he had to struggle against Boyd Crowder. So I do like that fact. That they actually put him in another backwards county town or whatever city, and it's the guy. It's like he's,
country.
yeah. And I'm just so glad it's not so overly gaudy or he's just like an obnoxious or like a Mr. Magoo trying to take over, because that would just ruined it for me. This is more like he's still got street smarts, regardless if he doesn't know what it is. He knows the system. He knows how to work it, and
it's fun. It's definitely worth a watch. I think.
Yeah, like I said, and like I said, these people are so gullible. Like, and the one guy, the weed owner guy, Brody, is like, the guy who owns the store. It's like he is such a pushover. And as it is, I mean, he was like I said, he's like you're selling weed. You buy it from somebody else, and then you're also holding on to the cash instead of putting it in the bank. So the guy was already committing a crime.
No, it's not true at all.
I guarantee you, some of these guys are they're
I'm not. I
slippery.
don't. I'm not disagreeing with that, but you put all your cash and just do one deposit. Plus, there's certain rules when the government's involved when it comes to these things, and with the state by state basis now, it's hard to say that. And that's where I was saying when he was going over the stuff with the guy, I'm going, wait a minute. I know he knows the format, like we were talking about what's supposed to happen with laundry money and all that, but the methods to achieve that now because of the internet and the way everything's digitized these days makes it even stand out even more. And I just thought that's got to be where they trip them up because they already know that the FBI does or the counterterrorism unit or whatever it was that they were there with the girl at the end. They know he's there already, and we saw the one dude watching him too, who I think's they're keeping an eye on the family because the best scene really was the family Dawn scene because you watching
Mhm.
everybody look at him. They don't want this guy around at all. And even the guy that he did the favor for is old and his sons are taking over. That's the real drama,
You
right?
almost well yeah. This is the old man being strong armed by his son because he's like
Yeah, you
seeing
don't know.
you don't know. But I do like when he comes in the room. He's like he's like don't stand behind me. I don't like it because he said is because well he's kind of doesn't like people behind him. He got shanked once. He says I'm never getting that shanked again.
Yeah, yeah,
So uh, overall, I'm like I said I'm happy that this show came out. I'm happy that the fact that they acknowledge that he's 75 years old. They didn't try to hey I'm on 55 because the girl the young woman says that like the cop she sleeps with him. It's like oh what you're 75. I thought you're 55 and then 50. He's like well thank you. He's like can I get you about? He's like I love how he says like oh I get you an Uber. It's like I just got the app. Like I said, it's great. It's great. Like I said, I'm after Better Call Saul ended. I'm kind of like, man, what am I gonna watch? I gotta wait for Old Man to come back if it comes back. I know they're talking about season 2, but like I haven't seen like that. All the shows I really like are just on pause right now, or they're be filming. Same with Bosch Legacy. Season 3 should be coming out next year, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Justified was coming out another season, limited series. So I'm like, right now, I'm like, I'm in waiting mode. So this is the show. I'm glad it is not coming out on binge, so I can just because I'd done within like 3 days. I'd watch the whole entire thing. Now I get to sit here and watch it every week, so it's something I can at least look forward to. So
Yeah, I will close with this. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's definitely watchable. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to it. It definitely has a certain fun element to it that some of these other shows, while maybe shot well and written well and all that, just don't have that engagement. Somebody you like and rally around. I hope this turns into where Stallone's, even though he's a good guy, bad guy, that there's just enough oddness around him, whether it's evilness or shittiness or dumbness, that we go, okay, well, let's really root for him. And how the hell does he get out of this situation? Because that fish out of water element that they're making fun of now,
yeah,
you can really play with that. And I hope the basis of this whole show turns out to be this way. And like I don't know. I haven't, like I said, I didn't watch too much Yellowstone. I really don't know what this guy does. I get it; it's supposed to be soap opera ish and all that, but to me, I we'll see with next week with the next episode because I'm
and
like you, waiting to see it.
hopefully he's a fast learner.
Any other final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I never got to see those ribs he ordered at the bar. I wanted to see those ribs, man. I'm hungry.
Did like him eating ice cream with his buddy at the mall. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Right? Well, what else are you gonna do in Bumfuck 2? It's like Tulsa, man. No offense, everybody lives in there, but if that's really what it is, there's really nothing. Because I've been in some places in cities in Illinois, and there's nothing. Like you can walk to everything within like 10 minutes.
Well, flyover country is definitely different than the coastals. And being down here in Florida, everyone likes to joke at me being Florida man and what happens in Florida. But I can always give you the Florida perspective. So I have absolutely zero idea, like you're saying, how realistic this is about Tulsa, but it feels modern. And I'll give Tyler Sheridan, the creator of this, credit to making it seem like it's happening right now here in late 2022. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 1 of season 1 of Tulsa King, starring Sylvester Stallone. Um, interesting. Let us know what you think about it. We're going to be taking a look at episode 2 here in another week or so. Very fun, very enjoyable. We're pleasantly surprised, just like the old man. So check them both out and let us know what you think. And we'll be back next week, same time, as well as also Sunday for a couple flicks too to be determined. We'll be posting that here online as well. So for RDV, for Professor Fix and everybody involved here at the Extreme Movie Show, have a good night. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And as always, stay extreme.
Good night, guys.